Even by Bob Katter's standards, yesterday's blow-up was a doozy. He unleashed on a reporter who asked him about his heritage.
Bob, you've got Lebanese heritage yourself.
Oh, mate, don't say that. My family have been in this country for 140 years. I have, on many occasions, punched blokes in the mouth, right? So I'm restraining myself today. Don't say it.
Well, staying mostly silent throughout, maybe staring into the abyss, Bob's son Robbie, who joins us live now. Good to see you, Robbie. You just got off a plane this morning. What was going through your mind as your dad blew up?
I was wishing Josh hadn't pursued that line of questioning, Pete. I know, and I'd love to be able to share more, but I know there's a deeply personal family dimension to what when you start referring to Dad's heritage, and I'm not going to go into too much detail there, nor will I ever publicly. I don't think it's anyone else's business, but yeah, we tried to give cues before that to say, Josh, change your questioning, and Nick and Shane, my colleagues there, were the same. And yeah, beyond that, mate, I guess I've got to say it's not the first time I sort of seen my dad explode when I've been a kid.
No.
With press conferences and seen plenty of confrontations, rarely with journalists, but I have, I've sort of been in that position before, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm just curious as to why this one got him so mad. I mean, you've got Lebanese heritage, I've got Serbian and German heritage. What's racist about asking about that, which is what Bob accused the reporter of?
Yeah, mate, I hate to do this to you. I haven't unpacked that with him, that dimension of it, and it's probably a question best for him. What I do know is, I'm not going to say too much more of it, Pete, but there is a deeply personal connection with him and his family and his, his parents, and there's a dimension to that that's very touchy. I would never go there. In my family, if I pressed him and okay. I tried to indicate that to Josh. And look, there was no malice in Josh, I don't think, mate. I would say, like, when you're told don't keep asking that question, you provoke, I guess I could be entitled to think you're trying to get a response out of him, and with Dad that, okay. you can get an aggressive response. So if you keep poking the bear sometimes, it's no big shock that you get a aggressive response.
Do you think he went too far though, Robbie? Was it necessary to use threats of violence?
Mate, that in itself, that question, you say, all right, but knowing what I know about what the background is of what he's asking him, I get shouted at in my job fairly regularly out here, Pete, and I don't complain to anyone or and I get fingers pointed in my face and very aggressive things quite regularly in my job out here. It's not for some. From my view, no, mate. I don't think it's over the top. If you're going to really press buttons on someone's personal life, you should expect you're going to get a reaction. And okay. He's more aggressive than others, so you should expect that. And we try and play that game with the media where we there's areas you don't go. He did, and we tried to warn him. And it was an unfortunate situation, I guess, mate. Looking back on it, but there you go.
So should Bob apologise? I mean, he's already said he's not going to. Have you had a word to him or anything like that?
Look, I spoke to his staff. We attended a big funeral, Celia Hilcher together yesterday, but we didn't get time to do that night to race back into Parliament, and I was up early for flight this morning. So no, I haven't spoken too much yet, mate. But again, I just ask you to consider that, like, if someone offends you personally and really gets up your goat and keeps going and keeps pressing when you're saying, look, I'm not going there anymore, I'm not answering that question, I think we should be able to defend ourselves at some point, and they keep, you're entitled to keep asking, but we're entitled to react to sort of stop that from happening. So, okay. And I would say, Pete, he's an 80-year-old man. Like, I mean, there is a point to where, it's hard for me to see how that's too intimidating, having an 80-year-old man in your face, but.
Yeah, but I mean, there's 80-year-old men, and then there's 80-year-old Bob Katter, who's red hot in a moment.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know he's a lot more aggressive than another 80-year-old, so I get that.
Okay. Look, Robbie, it kind of overshadowed what was your actual press conference. It's on the subject of immigration, And it was about, as I understand it, the Katter Party attending an anti-immigration rally this weekend, right? What's your issue with immigrants now, bearing in mind that most of our families were one at some stage?
Well, no, it's the importation of people that have values that don't wish to assimilate, and quite to the contrary, are trying to impose their values on us. And there's good precedents for this already. What's happening in England, where it's not a coexist model that a lot of these people in the pro-Palestinian march are looking for. They're looking for you need to start conforming to the way we live. It's a very aggressive sort of social model, and they're countries that don't have rule of law, they don't have democracy, they don't prescribe to the Christian values we have. And everyone hates the word Christian, but it's not about going to church. It's about just having looking after fellow man, egalitarianism. They don't have those sort of things, and we keep willy-nilly and indiscriminately importing masses of these people, and now they're parading in our streets saying we need to take a certain view on things happening overseas. There needs to be a counterpoint to that, and I think that just aligns with Australian values. Just saying it's more a celebration of Australian values than I wouldn't characterise this as an anti-immigration march. I'd characterise it as a standing up for Australian values that we've become accustomed to: rule of law, democracy, egalitarianism. They're things that we want to promote and stand behind and reaffirm in Australia, and not bend the knee to these people that are saying these other forms of running society like they do in Palestine.
So I'll just finish off here, Robbie, and appreciate your time today. You got off a plane to talk to us. According to the Courier Mail, what Josh the reporter was going to ask was, are values that people bring here more important than where they actually come from? If you were to answer that, what would you say?
That's a good question. If the values are important, that's precisely the point, Pete. It's we want the values, but they need to. You'd want to synchronise them somewhat with how you're used to living. So you don't import values from an Islamic country where they've got no rule of law, no democracy, and it's terribly violent, and they want to start bringing those values over here. Well, I'd prefer they didn't bring those values over here, mate. I think most people would. So that's the message we're trying to say. But if it's it's in terms of work ethic, and you take the Sikhs coming over from India, and terrific fellas and people that come over, they've got a hard work ethic and they've got egalitarianism, and they're great members of the community. Filipinos coming in that we've got around Mount Isa all through this country are fantastic contributors. They're good values that we like to have.
Robbie, once again, appreciate your time. Thank you so much this morning. I know you just got off a plane to talk to us to give us your views of things. So, as always, appreciate you coming on, Robbie.